Happy Thursday, rock lovers! Are you ready to begin February to learn new cutting and polishing tips and techniques? If your answer is yes, you came to the right place. Due to popular demand, we're bringing back Cut and Chat, a live and interactive cutting and polishing demo. My name is Joanna Morales from Highland Park's marketing team, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, we have Seek, cutting, preforming, and polishing spears and marbles. By the end of the show, we hope that you take away tips and tricks that you can start doing in your own shop. And if you're new here to our live sale event, or if you just want to say hi, please drop something on the chat so we can acknowledge you. Hi, David, Ed, Bruce, Edward, Catherine, Lawrence. Yep, hello everyone. And we would also like to invite everyone watching us online to join us here in our VIP Zoom room by signing up using the link QRC. We're super excited to get this cut and chat started. So let's dive right into some guidelines. There are two ways to ask your questions. First, you can put your question on the chat. The chat box can be found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Make sure to send your chat to everyone so we can see them. A member of HPL team will read your question to Seek Out Loud. For those who are watching us on Facebook, you can enter your questions on the comment section and someone from HPL team will read your question to Seek. Second, to make this cut and chat more interactive, you can ask Seek your questions yourself. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a button says reaction. Click on that button and you will see an option that says raise hand. When you raise your hand, a member of HPL team will unmute you and you will receive a prompt saying that the host is asking you to unmute. Click on unmute and you will be able to seek your question. After you ask your question, we will lower your hand and mute you so the next person in line can ask his or her question. If you have a new question, later on during the show, you can raise your hand again. We will be alternating unmuting people and asking questions from the chat so everyone gets a fair chance for their questions to be answered. For the Wheel of Fortune giveaway, if the initial winner isn't here, we will respin the wheel until a winner who is present in the room is selected. We will be we will also be dropping deals on machines and accessories and wrap rock later, so make sure you stay on. So now get ready to learn cutting and polishing techniques, ask your technical questions, and have ton of fun. To officially start tonight, Cat and Chat, please welcome Mineral Maestro Signal Ripple.
Good evening, everybody. It's so exciting to be here with you. Hey, Ed, how's it going? I'm so excited to get to play and hang out, cut some rock. So this should be fun. We decided to do this one more interactive, so you guys are welcome to raise your hand, unmute, ask questions. We can talk live. Hey, Ed. And it'll be a little bit more fun that way. I'm gonna make some marbles. We'll go through the whole process from using the shaping machine, trimming them out. Hey, Daniel. Hi, Jack. Hey, I know this is a pretty awesome shop here, and this is only Highland Park Lab Point 1. We're gonna redo the whole thing when we move into our new space and set the whole thing up again even better. Hey, Kathy. So to get us started, I already slabbed out a piece of coral and marked it so that we can trim it out, and then we will grind out our preform on the shaping machine, and then we'll use both sphere machines to show you guys how to polish it. Let's get started. Oh, one other thing. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Kathy. I did not think of this until right now, but the speaker is only right here where I'm standing. So you guys will be able to hear me, but if you need my attention, you might need to speak up a little bit louder so I can come over here and listen to the speaker. That was one of those kind of afterthoughts that we'll have to fix for the future. So, but all right, let's get started. So pin us up on the other camera. So this is a piece of the Indonesian coral. Nice. Let's see if I can get it close enough so you can actually see it here. You can see the nice pink pattern. Got the yellow. This is that brain coral pattern. I saw this piece and I was like, oh, that's a good one. Now on this one, the reason I didn't mark it all the way to the edge is because there is this little vug right here, but I want to get as much of this pink as possible. But I don't want this vug in this sphere. Sometimes I'll leave them if they're pretty, but this was not a desirable one, so I'm going to grind that one out. But we're going to use the outer edge of this ring as kind of our preform. This is a slab that I cut an inch and a half wide so that it's the right thickness to go in the shaping machine. If I was going to cut a lot of marbles, I would probably, if it's a big piece, what I would do is put it in the saw and slab the whole thing up like this, and then turn the slabs and slab them up the other way so they were all little cubes. And that way you could do, a production if you're doing a lot. The other way that I do it is here's a piece of blue ice that is big enough to cut the 1.5 inch ball, but I'm not gonna grind the whole thing out. What I'm gonna do is just trim it down a little bit, and then we'll stick it in the shaping machine like that and grind it out. All right, well, I'm gonna put on some headphones and cut this one out. Now, one of the other things I will mention is that this is not the saw that I would generally use for this. If I was going to do production and I was going to cut a lot of these, I would get the production trim saw because this is really what that's designed for. And one of the other things that the production trim saw will allow me to do is to grind on the side of the blade, and it'll cut these out a lot faster. I just don't have one set up right now, so that's why I'm using the 10-inch saw. And there's nothing wrong with this saw, but if I was going to do production like this, I would definitely get the production trim saw.
So Zeke, we have a question from Mary Paulson. She's asking whether you're using oil or water.
Sorry, what was that, Darwin?
Mary is asking if you're using oil or water.
Right now I'm using water because that's what this saw is set up with because I cut a lot of different stuff on this. But again, as a general rule, if I was cutting a lot of stuff like this, I would be using oil because it's gonna make your blade last longer. So it really just depends on what you're doing. It also depends on what you're cutting. This is a fairly hard piece of coral. It's very agatized. If I was cutting soft material, then you'd want to use the water so you're not soaking in the oil in it. A lot of questions actually about the shaping machine, whether you have to use oil or water. And if you're gonna make like turquoise beads, for instance, you would use water. But if you're gonna cut agate marbles, then you would definitely want to use oil.
All right, we have a question from Amanda. So let's get Amanda unmuted.
Hey Zeke, I was wondering if you're running the shaping machine.
Sorry, Amanda, I could not hear anything
No
you were
worries.
saying.
That's
What was
okay.
that?
If you're running the shaping machine, are you able to swap back and forth between oil and water? I mean, obviously you need to clean it in between, but or should you have
Yeah.
like one machine?
Well, now there's the real question is, do you want to clean it out every time or do you want two machines? Because personally, if it was me, I would have two machines. But
Fair.
if I was you could clean it out and use one for oil or use it for oil, then clean it out, use it for water. It's just a lot of time consuming to clean it. Really, the question about doing lapidary if you're going to make money is how much time are you going to spend doing that stuff and how much time is that worth? If it takes you 3 hours to clean it out and you make 20 bucks an hour, you're paying yourself $60 every time you do it. That doesn't matter if this is a hobby and you're just having fun, but if you're
Right.
trying to produce the most amount of stuff and you're competing with people in the Philippines or China or India that are paying nothing for labor, then you got to think about that kind of stuff and produce faster. Which is one of the reasons that I normally wouldn't use this trim saw for this. I'd use the production trim saw, but this is what we have set up right now.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, this is a very, very rough grind of what I would normally make to put in the shaping machine, but that's the fun part. So let's go grind this into a ball. This really is a cool machine. Let me just adjust the camera a little bit. And then on this one, I already marked it in the center there, so it'd be a little bit easier to line it up. On this, you got the handle over here. You got this handle right here, and that's what tightens the rock down. These pins are really cool. They're phenolic pins, so they do a really good job of holding the rock in place. I have yet to have one slip. Does not mean it can't happen, but let's see, get it lined up decent. All right. Then I like to give it, and this is not a fragile rock, so I gave it a pretty good snug down. I'm gonna move it out a little bit so that you can see everything I'm doing to start, and then I'll zoom in on the grinding.
So Zeke, Christy is asking how tight do you need to crank it?
Hand tight. I mean, not super hard. And if you're cutting cabochons, you wouldn't want to crank down on it because you'll cause fractures in your slab. I just did it hand tight, but snug. Because one of the problems that you can have is if you turn the handle and let this down too fast, it can cause it to push up and slip, and you don't want that to happen. So you just let it down slow. Let's see, but I'm not entirely happy with the placement right there. And then another note on this machine, this handle up here is an adjustment to move the entire head back and forth. So I'm gonna turn that handle till we get just about centered. You want your freeform to overlap the edges just a little bit. So I'm gonna take the phone out so I can actually show you.
And then Zeke Ed Deckert has a question. Since you just mentioned cleaning oil, if you are cleaning mineral oil off a piece of a rough or cleaning oil from the saw, which degreaser does the best job of dissolving mineral oil?
I actually use, let's see, I will show you a bucket really quick. It's a floor sweep to clean up oil spills, and I put that in a big bin. So when I'm cutting, I dig all the rock and out of the saw and I throw it in here. It's similar to kitty litter, but this does a much better job. And so that's right out of the saw. So you can see it's very little oil on there. And then if I do anything else to this, I just take some Dawn dish soap and some warm water and wash it. And that does a really good job. It's definitely the fastest method I found. All right, so if you can see down there, I got the stone overlapping the edge of the wheel, just a hair on both sides. I got it about centered. This one I've already adjusted, but you want to raise the deck here with this knob and start grinding in slow so that you make sure you get to the right round. If you don't grind it down far enough, you wind up with a rondelle shape where it's wider than or taller than it is wide. On this one, I've already got it adjusted, but you would just raise this up and you would just slowly turn this handle down till you get it to round. And so we got the
And
piece
then
there. Yes, Darwin.
Mike is asking if you're using the 50mm 80 grit plated sphere wheel current on that setup.
I'm sorry, am I using the what wheel?
The 50mm 80 grit plated sphere wheel.
This is the 80 grit. This is a 40mm 80 grit wheel. All right, so we'll turn our machine on, get the oil so it's ready to adjust there. And then this is going to control how fast the rock rotates. There's a lot down here. So I'm going to turn this almost all the way down to get us started. And I'm not just going to flip the handle over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly start to let it down.
And then Zeke, Bruce is asking, what is the replacement of cat litter called? And sorry,
Oh, I might be slipping there a little bit. Well, I think we're good. And I like to let it go around a little bit till it gets it's touching everywhere. But you don't want it to be smacking as it goes around. And I should have done a better job trimming this one out, but this one's just impatience because I wanted to get grinding.
All right, sorry, going back to Bruce's question, Zeke. Although some people already chimed in on the chat, but he's asking, what is the replacement of cat litter called, and from where, and what about contamination?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Darwin. What was that?
What is that replacement of cat litter called, from where, and what about contamination?
1 second. The speaker on this is not nearly loud enough to hear what you're saying with that grinding. Yes, this machine will do up to a 2-inch sphere. It won't do bigger than that. That is a really good suggestion, Mike. That would definitely be something to do in there. No, you do not need to constantly hold the handle. I was just holding the handle to get it started. Because I don't want it to flop over, because I did a really sloppy job grinding that out as a preform. And so I don't want it to roll over and smack and then push the stone up. And then it won't be shape. Smallest size, I'm pretty sure you can do down to like 4 millimeters. But I'd have to ask John to be certain on that. Okay, yeah, Jim saying the 4 millimeters is the smallest. And Darwin, sorry, I did not catch your question. What was your question?
Actually, it was a question earlier from Bruce. He's asking what's the replacement of the cat litter called, and from where, and what about contamination?
I just ordered off of Amazon. Yeah, oil dry. You can also get floor safe. You can use kitty litter too. I hate the feeling of kitty litter, and it's too clumpy. That stuff is much finer, and so it gets more oil out. Anything bigger than a 2-inch sphere, I would use the core drill for. So I can show you the core drill really quick. And then we'll finish grinding out this preform. So this is the core drill that we use for doing, I mean, this one's brand new. It hasn't been used yet because we don't have power to it. But we use this core drill to do bigger spheres. This one will do up to 6-inch. John makes one that'll do up to 13-inch cores. And he's working on another one that will do up to 24 or 30-inch, I think, something like in that range. But this is a great machine. This is the fastest way to produce bigger spheres. The oil dry, I pretty much never get rid of it. It lasts forever. So I had a big tub like that in my shop, and I never ended up throwing it away. I used it for like 3 or 4 years, and I finally gave it to somebody else when I was moving so they could use it. But I've never really had to get rid of it. I pretty much just leave it in the bin. You drop a little bit, or if you spill some oil on the floor, sweep it up and throw it away. What we're using is cosmetic grade mineral oil. So like when you have an Everclean, for instance, you just hammer a lid on the can and you throw the can in the garbage. If you're using nasty oil, I wouldn't do that, but what we're using is very clean oil. Well, see, Daniel, there you go. I don't have the patience to clean out the cans, and it's time consuming. Like when I'm cutting, I'm usually cutting for money. And so the 20 minutes you'd spend cleaning it up is not worth it to me. Hammer lid on it, throw away. It's, you know, buy another can. This machine does have a hood. It is just open right now so you guys can watch it grind. But I can close the hood so you can see. I am not demonstrating the CD4 tonight because we do not have it set up. If we had 220 power, I'd love to demonstrate it, but it'll be a few more months before we can demonstrate that machine. But we will do a demonstration on that. That sphere that's in there, I'd probably put $200 on. Depending on how it turns out. I mean, that's assuming it turns out as good as I'm picturing it when it's done. If you want to make the absolute most on a chunk of rock, though, what I would do is I would cut a ball out of it using the core drill usually, and then slab up the rest and make cabs out of it. Because you'll make way more on cabochons than you will anything else. That's awesome, Mike. They used to make wheels like that for doing stuff. I think people still might. I've never tried that, but that's a good idea. And this machine, just so you guys are aware, will grind faster. I have it turned to almost the slowest setting right now. Yeah, you could do that with a flat wheel, Daniel. It is limited on size though, so the 2 inches is about as big as you'll get in there.
Hey Zeke,
Yes.
question from Cindy Hoagland. You mentioned setting the hard stop pin on the left of the machine. Do you measure the height of the pin to match the size of the grinding wheel?
Yeah, when I'm, you're talking about measuring it to know how big of a piece you can cut a sphere out of. 1 second, let me turn off the machine for a second. Sorry, what was the question?
Do you measure the height of the pin to match the size of the grinding wheel?
Yes, you usually don't do that with an actual measurement. If you look at the screen there on the very left, there's a little red knob, and that raises and lowers a little table. I can show you that. So this knob here raises and lowers this table. This is the dead stop for it, so it can't go past that where you set this screw. if you were doing, like, because we're doing a sphere, you don't need a cam on here, so that you just take the cam off. If you were doing a cabochon, like, so here's the cam, you would take this screw out and put it here, and this cam would ride on this flat plate. So like that cam is what made that cabochon or preform. But because we're doing a round, there's no cam on here. So when it gets all the way around, it'll just be sitting on this dead stop here. And so then when you're lining up the piece, I tend to raise this all the way up. And when you lower it and start grinding into it, you're going to start grinding until the edge of those wheels start grinding into the pins. So when the edge of the wheel is touching the pins here, that's when you've ground into it far enough. And you can measure one I did earlier. This wheel's 40 millimeters, and the preform I did earlier was 40.3 millimeters. So 0.3 millimeters off. So it's pretty accurate. That's awesome, Carl. Was there any other questions I missed before I turn the machine back on?
Nope,
we're
we're
all
all
good.
caught up.
Awesome. All right, we'll finish grinding this one out then.
So Zeke, Richard is asking, if you want a bigger ball, do you need a bigger one of these machines?
So we only make one size of this machine. You need a completely different machine if you want to make bigger than 2-inch spheres. That's awesome, Jim. So on this machine, and there's also, it would take a really long time to make bigger spheres on this. So, and you'd waste a lot more material. So you'd use the core drill to cut the bigger ones. I would not recommend one of the Rocklaves to grind out the spheres. Everybody I know that actually like uses them says they're horrendous for throwing rocks. And yeah, it's very hard on material. The other thing is you're wasting a lot more material than if you use the core drill. Sounds like this one is almost done. There's also, I made this a really big preform. If I had cut this down smaller, it wouldn't take nearly as long. But that's mostly my own lack of patience.
Richard is asking if the shaping machine takes the place of a core drill.
No, this would be, personally, this would be an addition to. If I had this, or if you wanted a smaller setup. If I want to make marbles and cabs and beads and things like that, that's really what this machine is for doing that smaller stuff. But if I want to do full production where I'm making bigger spheres, like 2 to 6 inch, I'm going to get the CD4. And I can show you guys that machine again, because it really is an awesome machine. This is the machine that we use to make bigger spheres. So on this machine, this is the cross-cutting jig. So you take this jig out and just put your rock in here. This is very free cutting, so you don't clamp it in. And you'd you cut a core out of it. Then you lay the core on its side. You drill through the core, and you drill through this. So there's some cut marks in here, but this is a brand new one, so it hasn't been cut yet. And then you turn that and core it again, and you can core it 3 to 9 times depending on the size of the sphere, and that gets you a really good preform. But personally, I wouldn't do anything smaller than 2 inches on this machine, and the limitation is 6 inches on this one, which is really a good size for doing spheres. Because I don't like coring the smaller ones, smaller than 2 inches. This machine is perfect for grinding out these marbles because it's pretty fast. It gives you a really good preform. This was just about done. You can still hear grinding one spot right there, and then it'll be done. Yeah, so that's pretty good right there. Turn that off. And on this one, I actually adjusted the wheel too far over. You can see it's got this horrible little flat spot. It's because I cut it too close and then adjusted the wheel too far over. But you can see that's a pretty nice little preform right there. Great pattern in this. I love the pinks, the yellows. This one, I'll need a little bit smaller size of sphere cup to finish. But let's stick another one in the in the shaper here and adjust it over. So I went and took this piece of blue ice. And this one I just did a really rough mark and ground it out. I'll stick this one in here. We can grind this one out. And then we can show you the process of finishing that other one. Oh, looks like I cut it just, there we go. Almost too big to stick in there. So I'm just getting it lined up so it's about center. I tend to cut them a little oversized so that I generally don't have that problem. So we got that there, and then this knob over here is what moves this whole head back and forth. So I'm going to slide it back over a little bit so that we're right there. Perfect. Make sure we're nice and tight. That looks good right there. And again, this is a little bit oversized, but it'll be fine for the video that we're doing. I always start with it slow, so I'm gonna turn that down. I'll turn this back on. And then I'm gonna slowly let it in. Start grinding.
Carl wants to see the cabochon cams.
1 second, Darwin, I can't hear you.
All right.
That one I didn't clamp tight enough when it started to spin in there. And I always turn the machine off before I adjust the rock because I don't want my hand in there while the wheel's spinning. What was the question, Darwin?
It's not really a question, but Carl wants to see the cabochon cams.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, this machine's really cool for doing the cabochons. Goes really fast. So I've only got a few of them sitting here. But there's an oval. Nice little shape. This is the hexagon that was cut out of. You can see it matches it pretty good. And you can do these to size too. So like when you put this cam in there, it won't cut it exactly this size. You can adjust it to be bigger or smaller. So I mean, you can cut it to be this exact size, but you can also make it bigger and you can also make it smaller as well. You can adjust it to the size that you want. And on something like the heart, it won't go down into the groove there just because the limitations of the wheel. Can you not hear me anymore?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw a comment that said my mic cut out. All right. So you just still have to, when you make the cab preform, you'd still have to grind that in there, but it'll do the general shape there. So
Actually, Fred was asking what headset you're using because they don't hear the background noise of the shaping machine.
well, that is really impressive because when it's running, I can't hear you guys at all. I don't know. It's a really fancy one that Sherman bought. So, but this stone slipped, so let me readjust that and we can start this one again. You can see on it when it went down, it pushed up right here. So a little bit of an odd shape there to work with. So let's just go ahead and reclamp that one. But the other thing is, the nice thing is the wheel is spinning away from you. So if the rock comes flying out, it's just going to wind up in the tank in the bottom. It won't come flying at you. So, and then, yeah, if I didn't show you guys already, I'll show you this. This one has a tank on the bottom here. So all your oil sits in here, and then this is the pump that pumps the oil right onto the wheel there. And this also has the ability to add in a EverClean. You'd take this plate out and there's a mounting plate for the EverClean that goes right in there. And then on the back here, it has a vent, so you can use like dryer tubing to vent it outside or put it through an air purifier so that you're not getting the oil mist in your shop. All right, let's clamp that in there again. That's good.
Can you hear me, Zeke?
1 second, Bella.
Got it.
I like the idea of getting a headset that's noise canceling so that you guys can hear me. Because it is so loud, like I can hear that you're talking, but I can't hear what you're saying. Which normally when I'm working in my shop, or I guess this would be my shop now, I would just have my earbuds in with music or an audiobook playing, so it's not a big deal. All right, so we got it rolling all the way around there again. And this, I turned it back down to the slowest setting to get it started, just because that's what I like to run it at. You can crank this up so they run pretty fast. This one I also have the weight installed on. Right there. This, so you normally you'd put that in with a little set screw down the side here. This one I just got sitting on there to add the extra grinding pressure. Really helps cut it faster when you're doing bigger stuff. Yes, Ed, that's right. All right, what was the question, Darwin?
So Amanda was asking how often you should replace the oil or water.
How often we do what? Change between oil and water?
You should replace the oil or water.
Oh, you want to change it so that it's not getting mucky. You never want it to get that congealed look to it. So like the oil that you just saw in there, I wouldn't let it get too much dirtier than that before I was cleaning it out. So because then it's easy to clean. But Jim's right. It has the plate on the side there that you can put the EverClean on. And we would put an EverClean on it so that it's getting the oil cleaned all the time. And that way you never really have to clean it out. If you were doing it with water, I would drain it after every use. I would cut a batch of stones and then I would dump the water and put fresh water in each time. Yeah, the mist is not bad, but it's there just in case you need it. So the actual wheel that's in there that's grinding is just a grinding wheel that's half curved or like a half pipe shape so that it can grind the ball out and it just spins it around. Yeah, they make all kinds of different, or Highland Park makes all kinds of different wheels that for doing different things. So you can do beads, cabochons. One of the really cool wheels that I'm excited about is they actually make a beveled wheel for doing your cabochons. So you can put a 6-degree bevel or a 3-degree bevel all the way around. So it's really doing a lot of the work for you. You can get a lot faster if you're doing calibrated cabs. But you can do wands, you could do eggs. Beads is one of the most impressive things you can do on this one, because you can do like the high-end turquoise and opal and a lot of those more gemmy beads on this machine and do a lot of them. But if I had this machine in my shop and I was still cutting production, I'd use it for cutting marbles and cabochons. That's awesome, Jim. I do have a couple other wheels here. I don't have a beveled wheel up here yet. So this is a smaller sphere wheel. This is a 25 millimeter. So you're doing your like 1-inch spheres. And this is a 16 millimeter arbor wheel. This is a big heart wheel. So this is for doing and it looks like the sphere wheel, but this is actually deeper on the inside here. This is for doing like big puffy hearts is what you would use this for. This is just a standard flat grinding wheel. So there's no angle to this one. It's just flat across here for doing cabochons and things like that if you don't want the bevel on there. And then this is the last wheel that I have up here. This is the small heart wheel. So you'd only use one groove at a time to do the hearts. And this is for doing a double, so you're doing a dome on both sides of them, is putting the bevel on both sides of the wheel. And John designed it so that you could just move the head over and you'd have twice the diamond on this wheel. So kind of neat. All right, sounds like our preform's just about done. Pretty close, so we'll push that all the way down. You should have a handle all the way down here. I didn't realize I left it up. So, but that's close enough, so we'll go ahead and raise it. And I love that the oil turns on and off with the head, so you don't need to play with that. We'll go ahead and turn the wheel off. Oh, I can finally take the headphones off, so I'm not screaming.
Richard is asking Zeke, how often do you need to replace the wheels?
That is going to be dependent on how you use them. If you do what I just did and put way too big of a stone in there and grind it in, you're going to go through a lot of wheels. For like the cabochon wheel, because you're really only doing a small edge and you can use it all the way across, you can use a lot of that wheel, so it would last a really long time. You could probably do thousands of stones on it before you need to replace it. I don't know that I haven't really used this setup enough to say for sure, but I'd imagine that you could probably do at least 100 or 50 to 100 spheres on a wheel like this. but I haven't had enough experience, so that's just an estimation. In my
And-
shop, go ahead, Darwin.
Sorry, Paul was asking what the red box on the shaping machine is for.
That's the drive system in there. You got the arbor that goes back and forth, so you can slide the head back and forth, and then you got, I think it's chain driven in there, is what turns the. I'll give you a little bit more of a look at it, so you can see, because not sure I'm explaining that well enough. But if you look, there's nothing connected to this shaft on the outside. So on the inside, I can't remember which side it's in, there's a chain that drives it. So the motor comes up and it's geared so that it turns this, and then it's got the control on there so you can control how fast it is. But this is just all the components of the drive that's in here. There's not anything you mess with or do anything to unless you're repairing. All right, let me pull that preform out and we can move to the next step on it. So then we just loosen that up. I don't know. That's kind of an ugly sphere. I don't know if this one's going to turn out. All right, let's go over to our cab machine. I'm going to wipe the oil off. Now, if I was doing a bunch of these, I would just throw all of them in the oil absorbent. But since we're just doing the one right now, I'm just going to wipe it off with a paper towel. Yeah, the color in this blue ice. This is out of the same barrel that we were selling the rough pieces out of last night. You can see how much better. Right here, I'll show you. So there's a piece of the rough. That's off the same piece. You can see how much better it gets when you start cutting it up. All right. So now that we have our almost perfect ball, you got the nubs on the ends here, for where the phenolic pins were sitting. So all we're going to do is grind those off. And you don't want to grind into this too far so that you don't change the shape of it. But that's just about perfect there. And then we'll do the other one. All right. And now we have an almost perfect little ball that we can go stick in the sear machine. That is going to be so easy to grind because it's so perfect.
What plate were you using, Zeke, when you were grinding?
When I was grinding there, the
When
nubs
you-
off there.
Yep.
I was just using the 220 grit wheel because the blue ice is fairly soft. All right, let's head over to our sphere machine here. Let me get this adjusted so that you guys can see pretty good here. Oh, well, it's a good thing that's not a finished sphere. That would be the sound of the sphere hitting the floor. All right, get that adjusted there so you can see better. And on this one, I'm actually going to swap out the wheel, the cups, because the preform is so perfect on this, and it's a softer stone. Like you can see, it's just such a good preform that there's not a lot to grind off. So I'm actually gonna, what's in here is 60 to 80 grit. I'm gonna swap them out so that they are the 220 grit. And what's great about the high-speed sphere machine is it's got the pedal underneath, so I can just press that and it lifts the head back. It does have flat spots on the cups here to take the cups off, but if you just twist them pretty good, they just come right off. So as a general rule, I don't need a wrench to take those on and off. This machine is the first time this one's really been used, so it doesn't have any on there. But I like to put anti-seize on these threads so that, because you're getting lots of water on them when you're doing a lot of grinding. I like put a little anti-seize on there so that the cups don't get stuck on there and they come off really smooth.
Christy's asking if you're going to put that preform on a vibratory tumbler, what grit would you use?
If I was gonna do it in a vibratory tumbler, I would do 220 grit, then I would do 600 grit, and most stones I would use cerium oxide on, although John does not recommend cerium oxide. I think that's more of a personal preference thing. Let me just grab the electricity. But one of the reasons that a lot of these machines really haven't been used yet is because we don't have very much electricity in this room. So I'm constantly dragging around the extension cords to plug stuff in. All right, let's stick our 220 grit cups on. This is probably the funnest machine to use. It's definitely a debate between this and the core drill, but it's so mesmerizing to just sit and watch this thing polish spheres.
This is the high-speed sphere machine, correct?
Yep, what we're looking at right now is the high-speed sphere machine. Yeah, the anti-seize definitely makes these go on nice and smooth. All right, and then I'm gonna adjust it. Oh, that's the wrong preform. Let's stick that preform in there.
Amanda is asking, can you put rougher rock in the sphere machine?
Yes, when you do, you wouldn't want to just stick like a rough rock in there. When we do the CD4 demonstration, I'll show you guys what I put in there as a preform. But that's the beauty of the shaping machine. It gives you such a perfect preform. But you definitely can put a little bit rougher in there. It's just, you don't want to do too rough because otherwise you're wasting a lot of your cup and you're knocking teeth off if you do too aggressive.
Got it. And Janice is asking, are those bungee cords?
Yes, that is how this machine is designed. Is the bungee cords is what puts pressure on the sphere there to hold it in place. So it comes with a set of bungee cords and you just wrap them around the top here and it gives you nice pressure. So when you guys are setting up the sphere machine, one of the big mistakes people make is they put it so the head is tilted way up, and you don't want to do that. So I have a little magnetic digital gauge here that I stick on the tops of the heads right here. Let me pull the camera off so I can show you. So when I go to set the sphere machine up, I set up there so it's less than 1% off of perfectly level right there. But what I do is when I'm setting them up, I just try to get them as close to 0 as possible. And then what you do when you stick your preform in there, I take my arm and rest it right here and grab this, and I tilt back a little bit. What I want to see is the cup lift the sphere just a little bit. If the cup is too far out, the sphere still sits there, but when I go to do it, you can see it's not even touching it now. So then I'll put that one back in, and I just want to make sure it lifts the sphere a little bit when I tilt the head back. And I'll do the same thing. I'll push on it, and I want to make sure all 3 heads are going to, when I tilt them back, are going to lift that sphere up just a hair. So that one's a little farther out than I'd like. Let's see. That's perfect right there. You want the bottom edge of the cup to just lift it a little bit. So that's perfect right there. Let me stick the camera back in. Get that zoomed in so you guys can watch. My digital gauge yelling at me. When I first start the sphere, I put a lot of water on there. Although it really helps if you turn on the pump, apparently. Let's see. That's a problem when you use a cheap $5 pump like this. All right, so I just flood the sphere a little bit, get a lot of water on there, and then I'm going to turn it down so it's just dripping on there. When you go to turn the sphere machine on, it has this pedal that lifts the heads back. When you start a preform, I like to rest my foot on that pedal so that if the preform pops out, I can push down on it and I don't knock the teeth off my cups. But I'm not putting any pressure on there unless I see that happen. I'll go ahead and turn it on. Now, one of the things that we're watching for is you want the sphere to be going in an X pattern. So you can see, like, if I push on it one really side, how it spins in one direction. We don't want that. We want it to be spinning in kind of a round back and forth X. And that's going to give you the perfect amount of grinding. And it's nice to watch that. You see, if you look, there's a little bit of mud buildup right there. That's perfect amount on there. You don't want it to be too wet, because then the diamond can hydroplane across the sphere cup. So I like to get that little mud up there. And the mud also helps you watch that X pattern as you go across there. But that nice X is what we're looking for to get the perfect round. And on this step, I skipped the 60 to 80 grit. Right now, we're just trying to get it perfectly round. And you can kind of feel or watch the machine as it spins. The heads are no longer bouncing back. It's pretty smooth. Let's see, let's check that. I don't have quite enough tension on the heads here. Let me tighten that up a little bit. Just adjust the bungee cord. All right. And we'll take that out. And what I'm doing now is I'm gonna, because this is, even though I'm using the second step of wheels, what I'm doing is I'm treating it as if it's the first step. So I'm looking for flat spots. I'm looking for little areas that we might have missed. And it's good to wipe it off and look at it dry. Now, when you're doing your first step, it won't matter. But as the more and more you go along, you're going to look for scratches in it. Make sure you're getting all the scratches out. We'll wipe it off there. You can see it's, all right, I'll hold it up a little bit more so you can see. It's covered in scratches from that really aggressive cup, especially like right there. But that's fine because this is technically our first step. So, but you want to watch and make sure that those are going away. The worst thing is when you get a sphere all the way done and it's still covered in scratches. So, all right, I'll stick that down here. And then let's go ahead and change out our cups. Now, it seems like a pain to change out the cups, and it is if you're doing one sphere at a time. But when I cut spheres, normally I do them in batches of 30 to 50. So you're running these cups for a fairly long time before you're swapping them out. That one's got a little bit of paint on the threads. So it's not coming off or going on as smooth. But that little bit of anti-seize really makes a big difference. All right, now we're going to go into our 400, and all the cups are colored so that they're in every size is the same, so that you can keep track of what grit they are just by the color. This is the 400 metal bond cups. Now, a lot of people are real confused when we get to the 400 grit because there's actually two 400 grit cups, or two different like styles. There's the polishing 400 and the grinding 400. This is the grinding 400. So you can see that these are metal teeth, kind of like what you'd see on like a segmented saw blade or a core bit. And here in a second, I'll show you the polishing one, which is made up of polymer. It's kind of the difference between going from a 220 metal bond or a metal back wheel on a cab machine to the 280 resin. It's, even though the grit is the same, it's a big jump in difference the way it cuts.
Zeke, Amanda is asking, how long does the sphere cups last?
The sphere cups, you're gonna wear out your 80 grit, your first step cups, much faster, and actually the 400 grit polishing cups are the ones you wear out the most. But like when I did it, I could cut maybe 100 to 200 spheres before I was swapping cups out. And on the polishing cups, I don't think I've ever worn out a set. They last a really long time. So this is the 400 Palmer cup. You can see this is Palmer here instead of the metal. And so even though these cups are the same grit, a huge step in polishing. This is probably the most important step after getting a nice round sphere. All right, we got that in there. Let's stick our sphere back in there. I'm gonna do the same
Sorry,
thing.
additional question from Bruce. He
Yes.
asked, do you recycle the cups?
Yes, you can. When you're done with the cups, you can solder new segments on and keep using the cups. I did not, but that's just because I would have rather bought a set of cups than have to solder the tips all on there. Just a time factor, but it's definitely recommend that you solder tips on there. All right, now that we're nice and round, it's not as important to keep your foot on the pedal, so I don't do that other than just for the first step. But again, we're doing the same thing. We're looking for that nice X pattern. So you can adjust the heads to get it. That's like perfect right there. But keeping your heads level, yeah, keeping a level head, I know, is what really helps get that X pattern. Makes a big difference. So that's quite a bit of water on this one. So I'm going to turn that down a little bit. And also, if you keep it too wet, it makes it hard to get your pattern in there. And each step really with the high-speed machine goes really fast. If we were using the low-speed machine, it would take about 20 minutes for what takes about 3 minutes on this machine. And you can actually just about set a stopwatch to how long each grit takes. I like that you put that in the chat, Darwin. 3 to 6 minutes per grit, except for on the first grit and the 400 polishing cup. On the first grit, the only thing that matters on how long it takes is when you get to perfectly round. And on the polishing cups, the 400 grit polishing cups, you just got to make sure you're getting your scratches out is the most important thing. But you can hear how it gets a lot quieter, which means it's not doing as much grinding. So, but this grit will take about 3 minutes. And all we're doing right now is getting those really aggressive scratches out. The shaping machine wheels, let me measure them because I couldn't tell you. Yep, you're right, Ed. They're 6-inch. Any other questions? Things you guys are interested in? Maybe something that I didn't show you that you really want to see for this process? That's kind of too broad of a question. That's a good idea, Ed. We should spin the wheel. I do have some rock to give away tonight. And also, it'd be a good time to show everybody the deals.
All right, let's spin the wheel.
Janice. Awesome, Mike. All right, Janice, door 1, 2, or 3. door number 2. Oh, you'll like this. This is lot 1271. This is a piece of the pocket rot wood from Texas. That'll make a nice marble. Now you can do other stuff with it too, but I'd cut a ball out of it. You are very welcome. All right, so I just pulled our sphere out here to take a peek at it. I got it dried off here. You can see it's full of big scratches still all over this piece. So I'm going to stick it back in longer. I like this side's looking a lot better, but this side still looks pretty rough. So we'll stick it in a little bit longer. Darwin, why don't we go over the deals?
All right. All right, for our deals for tonight. So buy a shaping machine. If you get the shaping machine, a low-speed sphere machine, a high-speed sphere machine, or a production trim saw, you get 10% off any accessories of your choice that are related to the mentioned machines. So just to clarify the machine deals, that the discount only applies to the accessories, and you can buy as many accessories as you want. So that's our machine deals for tonight. And for our rough rock deal, which would
Oh, we
be
got some.
perfect if you want to make marbles and spheres. So we have a crazy lace deal. So you get it for $52 for 4 pounds. So the regular price for that is $72. So that's a more than 20% in savings. And for our purple jade deal, you get 2 pounds for $70. The normal price for that is 100, so that's 30% savings. And the Indonesian petrified coral deal, the preform that Zeke made at the beginning of the show. So you get 5 pounds for $78. That's normally $100 for the 5 pounds, so you get 22% savings. So those are our machine deals and rough rock deals for tonight.
That's awesome. So you get a shaping machine. You got all the cams that you can choose from. You get your 10% off those. You got all the different grinding wheels. You can get the sphere machine. You can get all the different cups. And honestly, the sphere machine is cheap compared to the cups if you're doing a lot of different sizes. And in my sphere setup, I think the cups were the most expensive part because I bought so many different sizes to do different things, so or different size spheres. And we also have you can do it with the low speed sphere machine. You got did we cover all the different machines? So the discount only applies if you're buying the machine and the accessories at the same time. On the sphere machine, no, we do not ever use oil when we're polishing. I never recommend oil while you're polishing. It would make it really hard to get a good polish and to determine, where your scratches are and really see the flaws in it. It'd make everything look really good. All right, let's see how this sphere is doing. I'm just gonna wipe it off here. All right, so we can take a look at it. Looks much better. There's still some scratches in there, but this sphere is looking significantly better. I love that blue color. All right, let's swap out and do our next grit.
Jim has a question about the deal, Zeke. If they already have the shaping machine, can they still get the discount on the wheels?
I will have to check with John, but I would say that it only applies if you're buying the machine and the accessories at the same time. All right, so that was the 400 grit grinding cups. Let me grab the 400 grit polishing cups. I do love that John did these in fun colors too. They're really kind of pretty to have a full set. And yeah, they do come initially marked with the grits on there, but you'll wear that off really fast. So it's good to know the grits or have a chart with the grits on there so that you know which one's which.
So for those who are interested in the deals tonight, you can just put it in the chat if you're interested in the deal and which deal you're interested in, or if you need like a couple more hours after the cut-in chat to think about whether what deal you want, you can email Zeke at hplapidary.com and let him know what deal you want, or you can also email marketing at hplapidary.com and we can also help you with the deals.
All right, so I just got the other cups here. I'm rechecking to see the adjustments on there, and I need to move this side in a little bit, and each head has its own feed on it to adjust it, so you can get the perfect adjustment. And on the metal bond cups, especially because these are new, they tend to be screechy. So I'm gonna get this one nice and wet, make sure water gets under there, because I'm not particularly fond of the sound it makes when these are brand new. So all right, we got that on there. And the smoother the sphere gets, the harder it is to get that X pattern. So you really got to watch it, make sure that the heads are fairly level. And then we'll turn the water down so we're not soaking it so much. And some of the black you see on there is from the sphere cups, but that'll come right off. All right, there we go. We got that nice X pattern going again. You want to see the whole thing rotating around so that you're not missing a spot. There's nothing worse than getting done with a sphere and realizing that you missed a spot, so there's a big mark on it where it's got not dull color and scratches in it, not polished. So, and if you get too much water on there, it will make it really hard to keep that X pattern. So you want to just keep just enough on there to keep it wet. There's really fine adjustments on the water feed that you can add on there. And so, but this is after you've got your preform made and you get a nice round ball, this is the most important step to making sure that it's going to have a good polish. Alan, just above your comment, the rocks are in there. Yeah, there's the Nermeen posted the machine deal. The water feeder is a add-on that you can buy. It's like $35 before the discount, and it's really easy to install. The pump that I'm using is a really cheap Harbor Freight pump that I'm not too fond of, but it does work. We also have the freestanding pump. You can also run it because it's just a 6mm water line. You can run this right to like a water cooler line or a fridge line. So you can plumb it directly. And that's my personal favorite setup. Sherman is, I don't know where. I thought he was going to be here to help me. The level is just it's just an digital angle gauge. You can get them on Amazon, any hardware store. You're very welcome. All right, Jim, I'll let you do that. But if you look at the sphere, for the most part, you get this nice X pattern where it's not rotating in one direction, and that's exactly what you want to see. And you can, for the most part, run these by timer. Generally, I would be running the core drill and a few saws, things like that. sometimes I'd also do cabbing while I ran these. And you just set a timer and just let it keep going and going and going. And you can produce a lot of spheres that way. When I was doing full-time cutting, I could make between 200 and 300 cabs and 30 to 50 spheres a week. If I was out there for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can produce a lot with these machines. And I know this feels slow at the moment because we're just sitting here watching the ball spin, but this is so fast for grinding spheres. When you look at the low speed sphere machine, or what most people would call a standard speed sphere machine, it is, I think this spins at like 6 or 7 times faster. So it's really slow in comparison. This machine cuts extremely fast. Yeah, I think you have to talk Jim into that, Carl. And the color in that sphere is so good. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite machines, the high-speed sphere machine. Very fun to use. Edward, that's funny. Well, gotta throw in some other things here and there. Eat, go buy more rock. So on the high-speed sphere machine, the limitation is the speed factor. Because it's spinning so fast, it limits you to up to a 6-inch ball. So you wouldn't want to cut anything bigger than 6 inches on this machine. And as actually the smaller the sphere, the faster you can spin it. So this is yep, we're gonna go through the entire process of polishing this sphere. So we will polish this one on the low speed machine because that's what we recommend using. On the low speed sphere machine, you can technically do up to a 10-inch sphere, although John only recommends going up to 6-inch just because of how beefy a 10-inch sphere is. But you can do that on that machine. If you're doing the big ones, though, you want to get the hydraulic sphere machine. It's speed adjustable, and you can do up to 24-inch spheres on that one. But honestly, if you guys are thinking about cutting spheres as a business, the 2 to 4 inch is going to be by far the most popular size. If I was going to start cutting spheres for money right now, I would get the stuff to do 2 to 4 inch to start with, and that's going to keep you really busy. And then you can build on from there. Unless, of course, you don't want to go full-time sphere cutting. You want to do cabs and spheres. That's where the shaping machine gives you a really good option to do those smaller spheres. Or maybe you just want to start a small collection. When I first started cutting spheres, I had very little desire to cut small spheres like what we're cutting right now. I was like, I want to do the big ones. And the more I've cut and the more I've seen out of like John's collection, the more I desire to cut these smaller spheres. Because they're just so fun to cut and they look so good when you got a whole display of them. All right, let's look at this one. See how we're coming along. Give it a little rinse there. Really good color in this thing. And one of the other things that I had in my shop that we've just not set up here yet is I would keep an air compressor hooked up with a little nozzle on it so that I could use air instead of paper towels, so I wasn't using so many paper towels. Because you already have to see, if you look at this one, you can see big gouge marks, scratches in it still. So we need to keep grinding on this one before we can move on. I don't know if you guys can see those on camera, but those white scratches right there will not polish out. This is the step that's the most important to get these out on. But you can see beautiful color in there.
Michael is
How's-
asking whether you're going to show how to make caps using the shaping machine tonight.
We can do that if we want to see how that works. Let me Swap out the wheels and we can show that.
And then Amanda is asking, is there a way to polish the spheres from the shaping machine besides the sphere machine?
No, Amanda. If you're gonna do like agate spheres, I don't have the stuff set up to do eggs. Otherwise I'd do an egg. But if you're gonna do agate spheres, then you can put them in a vibratory tumbler to finish them. Personally, if I was using the shaping machine, what I'd be using it for would be really high-end materials. So I would be using the sphere machine to finish them off, but you can use the vibratory tumbler to finish them. But yeah, let me swap out. We'll let that run for a minute. And I'll show you guys this. Just grab all the tools we need. Although in hindsight, I don't know why I don't just have them all sitting here to begin with. That would kind of make sense.
And then Jim is asking, on average, how long does a 1.5 to 2-inch sphere on slow speed sphere machine polishes versus the high speed sphere machine?
Thanks, Bob. So on the low speed sphere machine, what takes 3 to 5 minutes in the high speed machine is going to take about 20-ish minutes to do in the low speed machine. So if we're spending 3 minutes on the high speed machine, you're going to spend 20 to 25 minutes doing the same thing on the low speed machine.
And John is here. Hi, John.
Howdy.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Just trying to catch up from everything I've been over in Tucson and over there in Boston. I'm so far behind on office related stuff.
Oh, we're glad you could join us. We got a sphere running in the high speed machine right now, but some people wanted to see the grinding the cabs on here. So I was just gonna switch over the wheel and do some cab preforms on the shaping machine.
All right.
James Gray is asking if there are some materials that get wrecked on the high speed sphere machine besides, like, for example, opal.
Well, I've run many opal balls on high speed machine. I actually, you got to change your tension. You don't want to run it where you're cutting aggressively. And the other thing, if I'm running certain materials like if I have a sphere like Youngite with a lot of crystal pockets in it, then I'm going to modify my cups. I'm going to add more teeth so there aren't gaps between the teeth.
Yeah, that's no fun to get a tooth stuck in a gap.
Well, the cup's going to cut a lot less aggressively. If you're running agate, the gaps are all about going fast. If you're running something that you don't want to cut fast or cut aggressively, you add more teeth. Effectively, you get rid of the sharp edges so the teeth can't try and get down into the pocket. But more than that, you're reducing the diamond contact, pressure contact. So if you add twice as many teeth, the pressure per diamond is going to drop by 50%.
That is just such a fascinating concept. And something I don't think most people ever think about.
Well, the diamond companies, or I should say the diamond tooling companies, actually added to that confusion because, and you still see this kind of advertising to this day, where they advertise a tool like they're trying to promote it as better, and they'll say, it's got 50% more diamond. If somebody tells me that, I'm just thinking, well, this is a tool that is probably not going to cut for shit
Yeah.
because you got too much diamond contact and the pressure on any one diamond drops by a large amount, and then the tool is going to stop cutting. It'll last forever, but it's not going to work very well.
But hey, it'll last a long time. There we go.
Trish is asking, Zeke, how thick was the initial slab you cut that coral preform from?
That coral one was right at 1.5 inches. The only thing wrong with that one is I adjusted the head over a little too much and ground into it too far.
Are you training him how not to do it?
Yes. I thought I would teach by example. And speaking of head, let me go back a little bit so you can show you this. So you can see that we had this adjusted for the spheres, and now that puts this edge way over the side here. So that's when this handle comes into play of I'm going to crank it over so that I'm not hanging over the edge there, because one side's going to be touching this. And what's cool about this is you can adjust so that you're using this whole wheel. So we'll start with this edge over here, and you can adjust as you make preforms and do it so you're utilizing this whole face and not just wearing out the center.
Yeah, you can buy the teeth from us, Daisy. They're really
Alright,
popular, so we keep selling out of them, but I'm pushing to stock a lot more because there's a huge demand for good diamond segments.
and we'll stick that preform in there unless there's one someone particularly wants to see. Oh, grab the wrong size.
Well, show them how you're putting that cam on the end. I can't see it from the camera here.
Oh, okay. Let me grab the right size Allen wrench. It does help if you have one that actually fits in the hole.
Probably a 5.
5/32.
No, 5 millimeter.
Oh. Well, there's the problem is I've got to set a metric. But 3/16 is pretty close. All right. We'll just take out this screw here. Can you see what I'm doing pretty good, John?
It's okay.
And then on the end here, there's 2 little tabs that index the head here. So you'll stick those 2 little tabs in that flat hole so it's indexed correctly. You know, I only ever fumble with this when the camera is on. These changes go so much smoother when I'm here by myself. And get that threaded in there.
Carl wants the oval.
This will also give us an opportunity to show adjusting the deck a little bit more. So to get us started here, I'm going to turn this and raise the deck up quite a bit. And then I can show you grinding into it a little bit more. I like how fine the adjustment is on that.
Yeah, I did. That's what makes it so you can really dial it in more easily and not have it drift on you.
There you go. Get that into place. And then let me find the extension cord again.
Is that sphere still running?
Yes.
What are you running?
Right
What's
now
the-
it's on the 400 grit cups.
Poly?
Yeah,
Mm,
we can check it here in a second. I turned it off so I can show the slab.
Well, that's good. Your puppy came back, Mary.
What's that?
Well, Mary was talking about her puppy ran away, but came back
Oh.
on Sunday.
All right, grabbed a little slab of Crazy Lace to show you guys. So because this is a fairly uniform shape, we can just stick it in the middle there. If you were doing something like an oval and your cutout was kind of oval shape, you'd want to line it up so that they matched. You know, if you stick it in there off, then it's not going to be the right size to grind it in.
Yeah,
But because
if you're not centered well enough, it won't clean up the edges. So you have to kind of center where you clamp it and orient it appropriately with the cam.
Forgot to add the spacer back in. It is helpful to have that.
Zeke spaced on the spacer.
Well, you know. Earlier we were talking about you need to keep the spheres level-headed so that they grind in the proper X pattern. All right, just clamp that down in the center there. Doesn't need to be crazy tight, but it's snug.
Most people will over tighten this and they'll destroy their pins too fast. Thanks, Brian.
I'm gonna turn it down to get us started here. Then I'll slowly take it over. You can see we're fairly close to the edge there.
Is the switch on?
Yep.
Now, when you first start a rough piece of slab like this, the key thing is that you don't have that RPM of the head up too high, because if it's going too fast, then it's very likely going to slip. You need to take that camera and get it a little bit more over on the right side looking in so we can see.
1 second. Sorry. What were you telling me to do?
Move your camera so we're looking in from a little bit more of an angle on the right.
Okay. When I'm standing over here, I really can't hear you with the machine running.
Imagine that. There you go.
All right, and then I'm gonna turn the dial in to grind it in a little bit more.
So that left-hand dial, he's going to turn it so we're bringing that head down a little bit more to clean up the edges. Now, if you're running multiples and you want matched pieces, you would only dial it in the first time, and then all the subsequent pieces would be exactly the same. You just don't want to move that control on the left because that's what sets the size. When you sped it up a little bit, you can see because it's running smoother now. But you can see how fast it shapes it. It's like crazy fast.
Yep, now we got a nice little hexagon. Man, it's even harder to find the camera if it's somewhere I'm really not used to. I do love this machine. It's a lot of fun to play with. But you can see this is, so you can see the top one there and the bottom one. These are both
can
off
just
the
scale
same
it.
cam. That's one cam that's just scaled up and down to get different sizes.
You could, but then that affects the size of the wheel that you're running on. And there might be some cases where that's advantageous, but it also would slow down the grinding time. And what you'll find is this is the same principle. that if you're grinding a thin slab and your diamond contact is reduced, the grinding speed will be higher. So if you're running 1/4 inch slabs, you could push a ton of throughput on a single machine, and it's going to be faster than preforming a whole shaft and then slicing it up.
That's not the right adjustment.
Zeke, Alan is asking, like for the rock deals, will you be picking out single rocks or multiple rocks for the lots?
I'm sorry, repeat that question, Darwin.
For the rock deals that we offered, will you be picking out single rocks or multiple rocks for the lots?
I will be picking out, try to pick out the biggest pieces possible for that, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be one rock for that size. But since we're working on making spheres, I'll try to make sure that if you get the deal, it's a piece big enough to at least make a decent marble out of. But if you want a bigger piece, buy more. If you buy 3 of the deals, I can pick you out a much bigger piece than if you only get 1. All right, let's look at this blue ice. I'm just wiping it off now to get the water off of it so we can look at it. Ah, it's such a pretty sphere. Now, let's see, I think we got rid of all those big scratches. I'm not seeing any on there.
Move to
We're
your
still-
right a little bit. Right there.
How does that look, John?
It looked pretty good. You need to get it drier. Blow on it.
Part of the problem is my hands are a little oily.
Yeah, one of the things that you'll get in the habit of it if you're working particularly spheres is in between grits. You want the ball dry, then you can see what's going on the surface of the ball.
In my shop, I had an air compressor set up next to the sphere machine. Well, I mean, like the hose was next to the sphere machine, so that when I pulled them out, I could just blow the air out of the air compressor on it. So I wasn't using so many paper towels because it's hard to
Well,
get the
it looks
oil
pretty
off.
good. This looks pretty good from here. I can't, of course, on this camera, I can't tell exactly what the surface finish looks like.
Okay.
But I'm not seeing any real obvious 220 scratches.
Awesome. Well, then I will
Yeah,
switch
that
out.
is a really nice blue ice ball.
Yeah, it was. Well, I was showing them earlier because the outside of it was not super impressive. It's the same stuff that we were selling last night, and it goes from that very light blue to I cut into the center. It was so dark, looks so good.
You know, this is one of the things, and the purple jade's the same way. When you look at the outside of the nodule, it may not look as deep a purple, and then you cut it and make a small sphere like that, and it will be really impressively purple.
All right, got our 800 grit cups.
Now, Zeke, I got to teach you a trick that threading it on 100% by hand. I always get the thread started, and then I grab the cup and flip the machine on and zip it in.
Huh. I definitely did not think about doing that.
Takes less time.
I usually put anti-seize on those threads so they go on a lot smoother. All right. Don't think there's enough tension on this, but yeah, we need to adjust that head. I was talking about that you need to make sure that you get the little bit of lift from the bottom edge of the cup.
Yeah.
When you taught me that, it made a world of difference in how well I can make a sphere just by tilting it a little bit.
On this machine, that is the one key way to check your adjustment. Most people, what happens is they'll grab 2 handles and they'll walk in or walk out on them a little bit. And then one coats the cup that's kind of floating, and then they'll wonder why they're not getting a real clean, fast finish. Too fast, slow down that water. Still way too fast. Leave it be for a second.
All right, that looks pretty good X pattern.
See how we're getting mud already? One of the things a lot of people will do is they'll run the water too fast. And what happens is your cups hydroplane. And when your cups are hydroplaning, they're not cutting. And then you take longer and you're on the cups for a long, long, long time. And the cutting action is not near as good.
I do not like the screeching noise the dry poly cups make, so I always soak it right when I start it and then just turn it down as once it gets going.
Yeah, see, this is running a little wetter than I would like right now, but you can see the mud coming off of it's dark. Now on this material, I would run this maybe 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and then I'd check it. And on checking 800, I'm going to use an OptiVisor all the time because seeing the surface finish is really hard with the naked eye. And well, you get into my age where you're using reading glasses for everything, forget it. Just grab that OptiVisor. And honestly, it doesn't matter. Like when I was younger, I was still using the OptiVisor.
I will be right back. I'm gonna go wash the oil off my hand so that when I grab it to look at it, it's not oily.
Yeah, and the thing about doing the little balls like this, your surface area is really small, so they run really fast. Like this ball, my gut feeling, like if I was standing there with the machine, I would be checking it already. Because it will finish that surface really, really quickly. And then if you keep running it, all you're doing is wearing out your cups and making your ball a tiny bit smaller. Like that's a lot of the key with the diamond cups on sphere machines. Most people run them way too long. Yeah, we get color changes in paint. It's really, really difficult to get the Chinese suppliers to give us the same color of paint. You can buy it, and then the next one will be, you can see how much different it is. It's like, they just make me crazy.
But it
But-
doesn't affect the way it cuts at all.
No, they're exactly the same grit. All right, check it, dude. Zeke?
Huh?
Check it. These are 800.
Yeah. I love that warm feeling.
Yeah, well, that's what you want, is feel it, get it just a tiny bit warm. Less so if it's optical quartz, though. Optical quartz, I'm going to run way wetter, and I'm going to be a little bit more careful with the tension, because you get optical quartz hot, particularly on your final polish, and then you think, well, I'll cool it down by spraying a little cool water on it. That's how you trash it.
So I should not get these
Is
warm
it
and
fully
dump and
dry?
cold.
Is it fully dry?
Yeah, that's blown on dry.
I'm still seeing oily fingerprints. Jesus, dude.
Well, I do have oily hands at the moment.
You have a paper towel?
Yeah, I'm wiping it off.
Yep, you got to. This is why, in general, if you watch me, I'm not going to go from oil onto my sphere machines at the same time if I can avoid it. Or if I am working in oil, I'm going to just focus on the metal bond cups, so I don't have to worry about the oil. When I get into finishing, I don't want oil in my hands because it will sit there and make me waste time because I'll misread the cup. So looking at that 800's done.
Yeah, that looks really
You
good.
saw how fast that was. It was probably done when he was getting ready to go wash his hands. And as I mentioned, most people run them too long. just because they've been programmed to run long on running other types of cups, or running grit machines.
Well, I think people think that, oh, it looks really good after 2 minutes. What happens if I run it for 20 minutes?
Yeah, well, that 800 diamond's going to just cut like 800. It's not like silicon carbide, where silicon carbide, it can start breaking down. Like, when you run it in a tumbler, it's breaking down the whole time. And,
Yeah.
and basically, oh my God, dude, you're just driving me crazy. Get a single thread started on each one, stand on your treadle. Yeah, and just run it on like that.
Well, I'm trying to break the habit of changing a lot of sphere cups.
Yeah.
There we go. That is way faster.
Uh-huh. Check your adjustment.
Yeah.
And this is why you want to run, if set up and run, you want to run 20 pieces at a time, because you don't waste all the time adjusting. Your adjustment looks a little bit off. You got a gap on the top of that back cup.
Yeah, it is off.
That the left-hand one, yeah, backing it up. Yeah, that's looking better. Now, this is important here, because if you start with one cup hanging up on the edge, you can scratch your ball on the softer materials.
Now, back one
It's
just
kind of
needs a
riding
little-
on the edge of the cup. And sometimes, no, it doesn't reverse. You have to do that the hard way.
Got a what?
You got to do it the hard way.
That one's still
Yeah, you're still floating. Yeah, there, that looks better.
There we go.
Don't mess with that water. Leave it be. Jesus.
I was getting it wet, so I don't have to listen to the screeching.
Yeah, it's too wet. You're running too wet. There's 3 handles. We'll back it out and we'll show you that, Janice. And you see your mud's coming up already?
Yeah.
This is what you want to see. If it looks clear and you're just dumping water on it, you're just wasting time. You get it backed off so it's not getting any dust coming off of it, but that you're not just flushing it like crazy. And these cups cut really well on these kind of materials.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great polish already for just being at 800 grit. We're doing 1200 grit right now. I can take the camera out a little bit to show you. So when I zoom out a little bit here, this handle, you just rotate it back and forth to adjust the head in and out. There's a feed screw that runs through here that moves this whole assembly back and forth on these rails.
This
It
was
was such a cool.
This was a
What's that?
machine I designed, gosh, it has to have been, well, I designed it back in like 2003 or 2002, and I just made them for myself. And then when I started this, I didn't do it for a while because I thought it's going to be too expensive. And then I got the idea of making all those assemblies, the carriage assemblies, out of castings, and that reduced the price a lot because the castings eliminated a lot of machining and a lot of welding. I think you need to check that now.
Being the brand new cups, even wiping it off is nice and black.
Yeah, you're picking up. Is it, how warm is it?
It's toasty. It's about as warm as you'd want to get it.
How much tension do you have on it? Did you increase your tension between 400 and, 800 and 1200?
No,
You didn't adjust the bungees?
I didn't touch the bungees. All I did was adjust the heads in and out.
Let me see the pattern on it. Getting a little bit of a weird pattern there. I mean, it's almost polished. I want to go to the 4000 and see whether it cleans up.
Okay. Yeah, the first time I had that happen, I thought I had ruined the sphere, and I just scrubbed off.
Yeah, it usually will clean off, but I think you're probably done with 800. Are these brand new cups?
Yeah.
Did you break
Yeah,
them
this-
in before? Did you break them in before you ran them?
No, that's the first sphere on them.
Yeah. Okay, so when you get brand new cups, what I do is I'll grab a coarse ground ball, and then I'll put my 8,000 cups in, and I'll run it for a couple minutes. And then I'll put my 4,000 cups in, and I'll run it for a couple minutes. Yeah, I know. I've been in China a long time, so I say a lot of the things that they do. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking any of the sharp edge off the inside of the cup and getting it to wear in on the coarse ball. That way I don't get any weird behavior when I'm into finishing the first time on it. Your tension looks wonky. Something about your tension is a little off.
I
How
took
many-
it off one of.
How many bungees you got? 3 on this side. How many you got on the other 2 sides?
It's 3 distributed all the way around. So I can take one corner off, make it a little bit looser.
I never run 3. I run 2.
Oh, okay. I can take one. Ow. Now, see if I take that off. It's
Well,
these bungees are not the right length.
Well, take it and run it another hook. Do 2, but run it another hook,
Yeah,
and then you got to adjust it. It is a wise idea to run your, because you're just going around one to the other.
yeah, it's not. These are not the right size bungees, so
They are the right size bungees. I've been using them for years, dude.
well.
Just that the
I don't know what happened.
application of the bungees is incorrect. And you have to understand, if you put a 4-inch ball in here, then your bungees are gonna hook on the post in different positions.
Well, the reason I said they're not the
put
right
3, and
bungees.
then Zeke, if you put 3 on, then what happens is you got the tension of 3 cords on each head. So I run 2.
The
You got-
reason I said they're not the right
you
ones because
gotta
these
be-
are not the ones that come with the machine.
What do they come with?
These
They're-
were hanging downstairs on Sherman's
they're
bungee rack.
They're still the right things. They're 32-inch. They're 32-inch bungees. And Carl, I really want to caution you about putting your sphere in a tub of water while you're changing cups. And let me explain to you why that can be very hazardous to certain materials. That what happens is you're warming the sphere up, is the outside of the sphere gets warm and starts pushing warmth into the center of the sphere. Now, if you run it for a while and you're building the heat up in it a little bit over time, then what happens is that the whole sphere gets warm. And then, and this is particularly true if you're running a piece of optical quartz, or leaded glass or rutile quartz, and then you decide I'm going to spray it to cool it off, or I'm going to stick it in water, the outside of the sphere cools off and starts to contract. It shrinks, but the inside's still hot, so it's bigger. And then what happens is you'll get the spiral fracture.
That's just never a fun thing.
Yeah, so I would be thinking if you're getting too warm, you're just need to lighten your tension a little bit, or maybe you're running too long. Well, I can see that cleaned it up pretty fast. And you're getting some mud. All right, so let's stop it and look at it. If it gets a little warm, it's fine.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna warm spheres up.
Yeah, it will warm up in the process. And certainly jaspers and things like granite. All right, we're looking pretty good. Is it dry?
Yep, that's dry.
Slow it down, slow it down. I can't see the surface when you're spinning. Yeah, it's pretty, you're pretty much there. This is 4,000. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would probably run the 4,000 another 2 minutes, and you might not improve at all going to 8,000, but you could get a little bit more of 8,000. But I wouldn't go past 8,000 because it's looking really good. Is it looking there to you? I can't tell as much. Quit playing with your water.
What's that?
Quit playing with your water. You keep turning it up every time, so you're messing with it, and the ball.
I didn't adjust it. I just bopped it so it would drip on it.
Yeah, I saw your fingers. See,
I would
I got
just
a
looking at it
training
right
dog.
now, I would still take it up. It doesn't look where I would stop yet. I mean, it looks good, but I definitely think you could take it up quite a bit higher from what
Okay.
we just looked at.
Yeah, that part's hard to see here. Well, how much it would retail for, how much we'd sell it for, because we always give really good prices. If I was gonna retail this ball, I'd probably put 60-70 bucks on it because it's really good blue ice.
That's pretty cheap. If I was taking this to a show, I'd probably put 130 on it.
It's a rare material getting rarer because I haven't been able to find it anymore. But when my point is, if you look at most of this material when we sell it, what's a chunk like that sell for?
I think the rough of this we're selling for 50 a pound.
Yeah, but I mean, the rough for this thing might be 18 bucks for a chunk that would make this ball.
Oh yeah. It was.
That's my point. 18 bucks. You can shape it, form it fast, and you could be very competitive selling it. What's making the bubbles is the speed. And the key is when you're making stuff, don't do onesies and twosies. You set up your machine, if you're going to make balls that are this size, make 15 or make 20 at a time, because then you get the efficiency of using the same setup 15, 20 times in a row rather than having to reset up, change a cup, blah blah blah. Because you can really produce with this machine, so somebody in a small shop can make spheres and be very competitive. Which is kind of the idea. Like, I built the machine for myself to do exactly that.
Well, so when I bought this setup and I was doing it with the core drill, if I was making between 200 and 300 cabs a week, while I was running spheres, I could make between 30 and 50 2 to 4 inch spheres.
You start
Oh,
adding
that
that
is-
up, and you got, yeah. So you're done. You can see you're done on 4,000,
Yeah.
and we probably ran it twice too long.
Yeah, that
Like,
looks pretty good.
after you get to a certain point, you just run it, nothing happens. The grit is not going to cut any finer than 4,000.
Do you know the ratio of how long you'd run the high speed versus the low speed? Like if we were running the same step and we were on here for what, 2 to 3 minutes, how long would that take on the low speed? About 20?
Well, let me say this, because the factor has to do with how well your preform is cut, what material you're running, who's running the machine, and how they have it set up. Because you can run a high-speed machine, and if you don't pay attention to the basics, which is getting your cups set in right, where you're fully engaged, each cup is touching the surface of the ball the same, then you can struggle some where, if you get it adjusted perfectly, then it can go really fast. The same is true on the standard speed machine, or what we call the low speed machine. And the difference there is, if you screw up on the low speed machine, it's going to take way longer than if you make some mistakes on the high speed machine, because it won't make the ball round. And if you got a ball with a low spot, you're going to fight and fight and fight and fight to get that polish to come up in that area. And like when I designed this high speed machine, I thought, the machine may be harder to run. This was my thinking at the time. The machine might be harder to run, and maybe it will be difficult, but it's going to go faster. That was how I thought about it. And then when I started running it, I was like, oh my God, this machine is so much easier than the low speed machine. And a beginner can get on this machine and be successful with very little effort compared to the low speed machine. And then for my thinking and how I put together a sphere cutting shop, the low speed machine is your dedicated polishing machine. So that's all I ever put on mine in my factory, is I put leather or canvas cups on the low speed machine, and I run the high speed machine on all the coarse, all the metal cups and the resin cups. And I would never run any of those on the low speed machine for that reason. Now, having said that, if somebody's just getting into it, yeah, sure, the low speed machine is a great entry point. Yes, your grind time is going to take longer, but once you get, I would say the biggest place that's a difference is going to be the coarse grind and the 400 poly. And those are always your two longest grits, but they're going to be longer in the low speed machine. When you get into the 400, the 800 and the 1200 and the 4000 and the 8000 poly, maybe it will go from 3 or 4 minutes on this machine, the high speed machine, and it will be 6 or 8 minutes on a low speed machine. It won't be, that significant. Where you're really going to see the significance is coarse grind. Coarse grind is going to take, I can do coarse grind on the high speed on a 3-inch ball in 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if it's Mookaite. A low speed machine, it could be an hour. Pretty good looking ball.
Yeah, it is. There's great color in this.
Yeah, it is.
Well, should we run this one on the Cerium just to show it, or are we done with this one?
Oh, I don't think you'll be able to see the surface difference.
Okay.
Not in this camera, because I couldn't see the difference between the 1200 really and the 8000.
In person, it was a good jump. You can definitely see the difference in the surface. Brought it up brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice little ball.
Trish is eyeballing it and telling you to put it on the wheel to spin for it.
Well, you know, what is our golden rule? Oh
Yeah, I
man,
think
Jacques is
Jacques
so
pulled the
fast.
trigger a little too early on that one. He had put that down before Jim hit it.
All right, well, I got 2 doors left.
How many doors did you do?
We just did 3 tonight because I didn't think we'd run nearly as long.
Oh no, we're gonna go to 2 a.m. tonight because we're playing. Of course, I'll be asleep. You'll see my head back, my mouth open and stuff because I'm so tired. I can't believe it. I powered like I was just like on omnidirectional power going to find everything that was great, right? And so I get home and I'm just like just hit a wall.
Well, we'll set up the just because I told everybody would show it.
All
Whether
right,
it'll make
show
a
it.
difference or
Show
not.
it.
Well,
Oh no, I'm back in Texas. I got I don't know 8 days and then I'm off to China and I'll be there for at least 3 months. I got some new stuff I'm working on. We're going to be starting to make the molds for casting our own motors. Get this front hook on the T. It's not hooked quite right. There you
well,
go.
there's almost no tension on this one. So that
Well,
one's
that
pretty
would be a
loose.
problem. Pull it around to the next one. Yeah, it's just flopping around. It's not going to do anything there. That looks about right.
Okay. Should I wet this one first?
I'd put a little bit on it.
You
got
know,
a
one thing
spray
I
bottle? I would just do a spray bottle on it. I never use drip on these.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't train anybody to use a drip on this. You're just going to wash all your cerium off.
Okay.
I would hit it with a quit spritzer, then I would start the machine, then I would take my toothbrush that's got the handle halfway sawed off and I put a dab of cerium on it and let it roll.
Alrighty. Well, let me plug the machine in. I didn't realize we unplugged this one. Get that started there.
Spritz
And
it
then
again.
I do not have I don't have a spray bottle here, so I'll just have to
Well,
put a little dab on there. And then I don't have a toothbrush, so we'll just do a little bit with
oh
the
my
paint.
God, now see what he's demonstrating is how to get contamination onto your ball.
Okay, what was wrong with what I
Put a
did?
huge wad of cerium on there. So ignore what he's doing with that because you want your cerium to be in a more of a liquid slurry so you don't have it wadding up. Because all it's going to do is if you put it on too thick, it will wad over on the cups. It won't be on the area where it's going to actually work.
It was more slurry earlier. It's just dried out since I put it in
Now,
water.
what you'll see me do when I'm running cerium on a ball is I will touch my wrist to the ball, which it can be dangerous if you wait too long because the ball can get really hot and you can burn your wrist, but you can feel more quickly when the ball is picking up some heat because it will pick up heat fairly fast on this machine, which is why
Yeah,
if you're doing optical, you got to be really careful with that. I had one of the guys work for me destroyed a $4,000 optical sphere once. So I'm very, very attuned to that at this point in time.
that actually made a pretty good difference. It'll look a lot better when I actually scrub it. But
Well, can't see the difference here.
I can. That's Jimmy.
It's just a good looking ball. Well, and that's good cerium. Now you'll notice we're just running the A grade cerium. We're not running the double A.
That is a really nice little Jimmy ball. How long do you usually run the cerium?
Well, usually what I have is I'll have 4 or 5 of these machines set up, and I'll have one person that just runs them. And they're just going to be looking at the finish. That's all they're going to do is look at the finish.
Okay.
They'll run them. They'll run them a couple minutes. They'll stop the machine. They'll wipe the spot and they'll look and they'll see as the finish come up. And if it has, then they'll pull it out and they'll clean it off. Throw another ball in the machine. It's running while they're cleaning and looking at the next one. And that's all about how do you increase your throughput. And it doesn't matter if you're a one-man shop or if you got a couple people cutting for you. Like that's the methodology you want, so you're getting a lot of output. Because more output, whether you're cutting for your personal collection or whether you're cutting to be able to resell some in shows, that's everything.
And one of the things that I would do with the low speed machine is I would actually take it to shows and I'd set it up and I would do from the poly cups up. So I'd grind out a batch of 30 spheres and you have to get permission, of course. And I'd take it to the show and it would get so much attention because people would come over and watch the ball spin. People would stand there for an hour and watch one ball turn. Like they love that. And then you're polishing spheres while you're at the show. That was actually the main reason I got a low speed machine was to take it to shows. But it's definitely good to have it for the cerium because you don't want to run cerium on high speed. You will cause the cerium to burn onto the surface. And on something like jade, for instance, you can actually cause really bad orange peel if you run
You'll get
cerium on high
orange peel.
speed.
This material here will orange peel if you run it with too much tension and run it hot, run it fast. It has a little bit of the behavior of jade, and there's a number of materials that will do that, which is why we don't recommend running the leather and any kind of polish phase like that, leather and cerium on the high-speed machine.
And one of the other things I just discovered, and I'd never realized this before because I really hadn't run these machines in this room before, is that if you stick your low speed machine next to your CB8, that light is perfect to stick over it. That's a happy little discovery. I didn't realize it would be so nice having these so close together.
That's funny.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys want to see? Anything else we can show you on the sphere cutting or using the shaping machine?
Hey, so are we gonna give away something for the?
Oh, that's right. We still have the golden rule giveaway.
Joseph wants us to bid out the sphere.
I don't want to bid out the sphere. I want to finish it and keep it.
That just needs to be washed. I'll bid it out.
Oh gosh, John's gonna give away another sphere. Just can't show him nothing.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody joined us tonight. They should have a swing at it.
Let me
It's a
get to where I
nice
can
one.
show it to you. You gotta scrub the cerium out of this.
Yeah, it needs a little bit of. And Jim's at 50. Amanda's at 55. Jim's at 60.
Such a beautiful sphere.
I
Great
told you
color.
you could easily sell this for 60. This is why you need a high-speed sphere machine, because then you can crank these out and make money with it. Joseph's at 65. Pretty piece of blue eyes. Man, I hope I can find some more of this material. All right, getting ready to sell it. And Joseph takes it for 65.
How depressing.
How depressing. Well, listen.
I'm kidding. I'll cut another
How
one.
many minutes did it take you to make that?
Honestly, if all I did was just make this and not talk the whole time, I probably could have made it in 45 minutes or less.
Oh, not even that.
Maybe half hour.
Yeah, because you shaped it, right?
Yeah, it's really fast.
And if you had, and here's the real thing. If you had 5 chunks and you did them all at once, could you do 5 inside of an hour and 10 minutes?
Oh yeah.
See, that's the key right there.
All right, this sphere is, we'll do this as law 1195 for the blue ice sphere. We still
You're
didn't give
making-
away the golden rule
You're
prize.
making it so much fun.
You don't want a cut by Zeke certificate. Look for when it's like a cut by John certificate. I'm still a newbie.
So Carl has a question, so we'll unmute Carl so he can ask his question.
All right, let's hear it.
Hey Zeke, can you show the vibratory tumbler for doing a whole bunch of little marbles?
I would, but I actually just took the vibratory tumbler downstairs, so I'll have to show that another time.
Well, you got
Okay.
track shoes. Run.
The problem is that it would disconnect and I would just be down there talking to myself.
And
Yeah,
that would be
Wi-Fi
unusual. How?
We should actually, I think for the next cut and chat, what we should do is actually do something on setting up, loading, and running that vibratory tumbler.
Awesome. Well, I've ground out, probably 110, 120 pounds of Alamejo that's sitting in there. That's the reason I took it downstairs, because there's a 220 outlet down there so we can wire it up.
All right.
We'll have to do something on that.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
I like that idea. Well, also, anything else that we can show you guys? Any other stuff? We still didn't give away that golden rule, door 1 or door 2.
Well, let's
I don't know
do
if you
that.
got it.
If so, John mentioned that Jacques was too quick on the golden rules. So the next in line, John, would be Peter Guza.
Yeah, I think that does anybody else concur with my observation on that? Because I don't want to be wrong about it. Carl says he does. Daniel, okay. Well, we're gonna go with that. Yeah, let both have one. Well, you know, I have a mind to. Like, you know, we made the well, actually, I was the one started saying that, and it's actually a great mantra for anyone who's doing lapidary, because so many people waste their valuable time cutting substandard stuff, and I really hate to see people do that when they can cut something amazing and have a great level of satisfaction versus cutting something mediocre and having a mediocre level of satisfaction. So I really like that people embrace that, and that's a fun thing to give away on. So,
Well, I've experienced it, and I'm sure you've experienced it a lot, John, where you go buy a collection and there's all this junk rock laid out everywhere that they were cutting up. You know, there'll be some horrible rock in the saw that you're like, ugh, who thought to ever put that in a saw? And the best rock that they had, killer pieces that you'd be super excited to cut, are wrapped up, tucked away in a box underneath the bench that no one's seen since the day
Well,
that they got them and wrapped them up.
I'll give you an example. I'm in Tucson, and we're walking around out of Keno, and we were way out in the back, and there was this one, I don't know, a dealer or something set up there, basically professing to liquidate this old collection. And I'm looking in the barrels, and it's almost all junk. Like, and they took all this effort and hauled all this stuff out, and like, if I was grading it, I would have thrown 80% of it in the ditch. And yet there's people digging through it because they don't know where to get better rough that doesn't, you know, cost a fortune. And then, you know, they're going to take that stuff home and cut it and be disappointed. That's a good one, Linda. All right. What do we got?
Door 1 or door 2?
So we're giving both Jacques
You know
and
what?
Peter to
I'm
confirm.
going to give something to both of them.
Okay.
So should we let Jacques choose first?
Yeah,
He
I'm
was the
gonna
first
let them
Alright.
both. I'm gonna let them both have something, because Jacques can start and then he wants number 1, and it was Jim, I think. So Jim, you got number 2.
Actually, it's
Oh.
Peter.
Was it Peter? I thought it was Jim.
Yep.
Okay. You can tell I'm really with it tonight.
Yep, it's Peter.
All right. So who's the first lot going to? I'm even more
Jack.
confused.
Door
Jack,
1
okay.
for Jack. Yep.
All right. This is lot 1932. Got a piece of golden quartz. It's got those nice iron layers in there that make it nice and bright. That's lot
Oh.
1932.
That stuff, by the way, that stuff is crazy high now.
Is it?
I used to get a fair amount of it. I saw some this year in Tucson. It's crazy expensive.
Huh. I did not know that.
Yep.
And then our next lot, this is lot 4132. Got a nice chunk of the pocket rotwood from Texas. Look at the pattern on that. I like that.
That is intriguing.
That's gonna be a
I
nice
like that.
piece.
I like that piece.
That's lot 4134.
So can you pull together something for a spin?
Well, of course I did. That's what I was doing while you guys were talking.
Ah, the guy that can read my mind.
Although before we do the spin, we should go over the machines and anybody that wants the deals. So for the machines that we did, will you pin me up, Darwin, so we're not just staring at the sphere machine for a second?
Sure.
For the deals that we did, so you buy the machine's going to be retail price, but you get 10% off of any accessories you buy that go with that machine. If you're going to do the marbles like we did, I highly recommend getting the production trim saw. It's definitely what you want to use for cutting out those little preforms and grinding them out. Then you got the shaping machine. We have a bunch of different sizes of sphere wheels. I think we have, what, 4mm to 2-inch? Is that right, John? I know it's really small for.
Yeah, we've got you're talking for the shaping machine, right?
Yes, the sphere wheels.
Yeah, I think we got like what we go between we do really small stuff, but so we go I don't know what all the step sizes are, but I know we have 20, we got 25. I think we've got 30 and 35. And you're gonna make me look it up because I hate guessing. I always tell everybody, don't guess.
But there's a lot of different sizes from very small beads all the way up to 2-inch is the biggest that we make for the shaping machine. And there's a lot of other great wheels too. You can get your cabbing wheels. We make other beads, barrels, rondelles, things like that. You can do wands, eggs. It's all a very similar process to what we showed. We got the high-speed sphere machine. With the accessories you're going to want with that is you're going to want the drip kit, and you're going to want to get as many sphere cups as you can afford because it's great to have a nice range that you can make stuff with. But if you were going to start a shop, the 2 to 4-inch is definitely the most popular. If you're getting the shaping machine, you're going to want to do 1 to 2-inch spheres. And then we got the low speed sphere machine, a great starter sphere machine if that's what you got room for and a budget for. If you're going to go for the high speed sphere machine, it's a great add-on as doing your final polish. So I love having the high speed and the low speed there to do both. Highly recommend that. We also have the leather polishing tubs.
Let me tell you the sphere wheels that we have. 50, 40, 30, 20, 25, 18, 15, and 12. And then we have basically bead wheels, 10 and 8. And I think we even have a 6 too. So
okay.
There you have it.
Awesome.
I got 2 more containers on the water with more oil in them. I have to look at the ETA on those. Let me see. I actually could look that up really fast while you guys are talking.
And then for the production trim saw, you're going to want a pump and oil with that. You can use it with water, but if you're going to make like little agate marbles, I'd definitely get the oil with it so that you can really push with those and not cause a ton of fracturing and crazing with those. And I think that's all the machines we covered. Although we didn't do it tonight, mostly because I don't have it set up. But another really good machine, if you're getting the shaping machine, would be the ultrasonic drill. If you're going to make beads and pendants, because you can make your cab preforms and drill them to make pendants. You can do the beads on there and drill them so that you have the holes for the beads. So that's a really good add-on for that machine too.
Yeah. Oh, well, if you're doing beads out of something like turquoise or opals, it's really great to have the shaping machine for that, because you're fracturing. Like, you can't use a bead mill for that kind of stuff. It is not ever gonna be great. Let's see, estimated
I
arrival
agree. I would love these aprons in green and or red with the Highland Park logo right in the middle of them. That's on John's to-do list, actually, is to start making these, but John has a long to-do list. And it doesn't
So
help that
to answer the oil question, I have a container that should be arriving in about 9 or 10 days. And it has, see how much oil's in there.
I know we still have some back ordered.
I got a bunch in there. I got a big batch in there, so. Yep, so there you have it. So what was the deal we offered?
So on the machines, you buy the machine, it's the retail price on the machine. You can get 10% off any of the accessories that go with that machine, and you can buy as many of them as you want. So you buy a shaping machine, you could buy 1 or 5 of every shaping machine wheel and cam that we have and get 10% off of the accessories. Sphere machine, you can buy the sphere machine and get 10% off all the cups and things to go with that.
All right, well, I'm gonna sweeten the deal. I'm gonna sweeten the deal. If you buy 2 machines tonight, then I'm gonna give you 5% on the machines.
Oh,
In addition to that, what he just offered. So if you're thinking about it, I'll give you something else to think about.
you could get the 2 sphere machines, or you could get the sphere machines and a shaping machine. Oh man, that's exciting. That's a great deal.
Yep.
And then we did offer a couple rock deals. Darwin, you want to pop those up, because I do not remember them off the top of my head.
Yep, we can show the slide again.
And Josh, I'm working on the Blue Mountain.
So for the rock deals on the next slide, so we have a Crazy Lace deal. So you get 4 pounds for $52. The normal price for that is $72. So that's more than 27% in savings. For the Purple Jade deal, we get 2 pounds for $70. So the normal price for that is $100. So you get 30% savings. And for the Indonesian petrified coral deal, you get 5 pounds for $78. The regular price for that is $100. So you get 22% savings.
Awesome. There you go. Get a deal on some rock and get the shaping machine and a sphere machine and start making marbles.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all you guys joining us and learning with us. We like teaching, and of course, we like seeing other people get into it. And yes, the cups work on either machine, and we like seeing other people get into it and enjoy new ways of cutting stone.
And I'll say on the deals, anybody that's thinking about the deals that wants them and they're not sure yet, or they have to go ask their owner if they can get it. I'll say by tomorrow morning, if you decide you want it, just give us a call or send us an email and we'll get you the deal.
Anytime tomorrow's fine. Anytime tomorrow's fine. If you were on this call tonight, you got basically a day to, decide what you want to do. So no rush.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like Darwin's suggestion. If there's anything you guys want to see on the next Cut and Chat, let's talk about it, and we'll put it together.
Just for you, Carl.
All right, Lynn wants Crazy Lay's deal, looks like. Any other questions you guys have for us before we call it an evening?
And we do have one spin left.
And we got a spin left. Ryan wants Crazy Lay's deal. Well, I'm kind of curious. I'm wondering, when you get to watch, when you what you get to watch me directing Zeke and making these balls. Like, how did it feel? Did that feel easy? Put in the chat if like it kind of answered some questions for you and helped you see the process and make it less mystical.
Well, it's also a good reminder that I'm learning too. John has an incredible amount of information. I mean, for most people, I've made more spheres than most people ever will, and it's nothing compared to what John has made. John has an incredible amount of knowledge, and it's awesome we get him in here and sharing that knowledge.
What not to do. Yeah, okay, and I'll say this. I'm very opinionated about how I do stuff because I've done a lot of it and I know what processes work. It doesn't mean that there's not other techniques and other methodologies that work. They're just how I see it, and of course that's what I'm going to teach.
On the CD4, the core drill, we will do one of these on cutting spheres with that and go through the whole process again, but it won't be for a couple months till we get into our other space and get power hooked up to it. Right now, it's just a beautiful piece of art to look at because there's no electricity to it. So
yeah, there's people moving out of the space. There's 2 spaces we're going going into. One of them has moved out, and that's where the lab's going to be. So they started the process of cleaning the whole area. We've got to basically high pressure wash the floor, and then we're going to epoxy coat it. And then we got to build it out and do all the electrical drops and everything. And that's going to take a little while to do, but they are actually moving on it because that person's finally out. Yeah, they can put down a payment to hold the deal and finish paying later. Absolutely. I know sometimes it takes a little while to get all your stuff together, and there's no push.
awesome, Trish. I'll have to get a sphere machine and get into it. It's a lot of fun to make.
Yeah, well, for $2,500, pay attention to what kind of machine it is, because in the low speed machines, in my opinion, there's no low speed machine that's worth $2,500.
Well, on the
If you're
old
gonna start
one,
spending that money, it better be a high speed machine. And it better have 3 spindles, because 2 spindle machines, they are really good if you have a boat you want to sink in the middle of the ocean or something. You just tie it around it and punch a hole in the boat and then leave. I don't think much of two head machines. You have to mess with them constantly. Tweak. It's a waste of time.
So you're not going to be making any 2-head machines anytime soon?
Nope, pretty sure that's not going to happen.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And that
Awesome.
includes the old original HP 2-head machine. It's kind of a joke. Because the technology has vastly improved. It's like thinking about buying a Commodore 64 when you could get a really powerful laptop. It has no usefulness now, but back then it was useful. So there's times to go, okay, the old technology, some of it we got to let go because it's really not that functional because the cost of running it is too high.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the lace is almost all the lace is big enough for balls. Yeah, pretty much put one in a museum. The history of sphere making.
along with all of these steel cups that I will never ever use.
Yeah.
Again, anyway.
No, I don't want NASA's first computers unless they're collector's items and somebody wants to buy them.
Awesome. Well, do you guys have any other questions, or should we spin the last spin? You're very
Let's
welcome.
do this. Let's do the last spin.
All right.
Jerry Gray. See that Jerry's still on with this. Nope. James. Yeah. Close, but no dice.
That is close.
Spin it. Catherine.
Oh man, I think that's twice now.
Yeah, I mean, she must be paying Nermeen well. All right. Throw
Well, I'm
something
pretty
in the chat, Kathy.
Yeah, I just got to use a little bit smaller cups than what I have because I ground a flat spot into it.
At least I don't whine like Carl. All right, let's see what Kathy won.
This is lot 1322. Nice piece of the Russian cat's eye. Really good color in this piece too.
Well, we can't see it because you're not pinned up.
Oh, well, I'm
So
sure.
there it is.
Beautiful
Oh, that
piece
is
of
a good
Russian
piece of
cat's eye.
Russian cat's eye.
Yeah, you can see underneath that rust color is nice blue.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's how
lot
all that stuff is.
1332.
All right.
Well, awesome. Thank you, everybody. If you enjoy what we do and you like these videos, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us, and we love seeing those. And we'd love to hear more suggestions. If you guys have ideas or things that you want us to show in the future, I think we'll try to get to these a little more semi-regularly so that we can show you guys lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. It was fun. Fun as always.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Yep. See you
See you
tomorrow
tomorrow
night.
night.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. See you tomorrow night.